This week, round 5 of the Northern Region's Off-Road Championship. The recent Sun City 400 at the sprawling holiday resort in the Pilanesberg incorporated round 5 of the Northern Region's Off-Road Championship. The Northern Region and KwaZulu-Natal Regional Championships are important nurseries for the ABSA National Series, and this season a number of competitors have come through the regional ranks to regularly compete on a national basis. In an effort to expose regional competitors to the national culture, the South African National Off-Road Association has a policy of combining, where possible, ABSA national races with regional events, and Sun City drew a combined entry of around 85 cars. Regional championship events also unearthed some interesting machinery, like the Jimco Tandem campaign by twin brothers Clive and Sean Sutherland.
Basically, this car was imported from America a couple of years ago. It used to be Aldi, and yeah, we bought it a while ago. So it was imported from by Derek Pinoy, I think back in the 90s, early 90s. And we bought the car a while ago, and yeah, and just trying to keep it together, get the Aldis back on the road again.
Included in the Jimco's checkered history is a victory for Derek Pinoy and his son on the famous Barbaspan 500.
Yeah, I think in '92 it won the Barbaspan 500 at that stage. So it was old national top running national car at that stage. So it's a bit difficult keeping the oldies in the loop still. But yeah, we'll get there, hopefully.
The Jimco was imported from the US, and since acquiring the car, the Sutherland brothers have worked towards restoring it to its original specifications.
Yeah, we basically rebuilt the whole car, did everything on it, and improved a little bit there and here and there, and we bought it as a single seater and made it back as it was imported as a tandem car. Put another seat at the back in again, and yeah.
Going to the Sun City race, the Special Vehicle Championship in the Northern Region Series had been dominated by the Benoni-based father and son pair of Tony and Michael Gouveia in the Gearbox Services BAT. 2 overall wins and 4 successive Class B victories gave the Gouveias a healthy lead over veteran former national champion Giel Nel and Johan de Klerk in the portable shade KEC Truggy. Third in the overall championship was National Series regular Johan van Staden, who had used regional competition to team up with his teenage son Sean, with the pair scoring a second and a win first time out. The Pretoria pair were only 3 points clear of the steady Johan Steyn and Sean Vandenberg in a Zarko. Steyn and Vandenberg had an 11-point cushion over evergreen Wolf-Peter Fumfai in the home-built WPP single-seater. Fumfai has been racing for longer than anyone can remember, with another of his WPP cars taking Botswana-based John Boxhorn to 6th in the championship. Next up were Martinus Leroux and Gustav Pinard, and Manny Fernandez and Joshua Mayer, with the 2 crews separated by a single championship point and campaigning different-looking Sandmasters. Behind the 2 Sandmasters and 5 points adrift in the championship were Cobus Becker and Mornay Kalitz. Now in his mid-60s, Giel Nel is another of those drivers who has been racing for longer than anyone can remember and is still a championship contender in the Northern Region Series.
Yeah, we've got still a chance, I think a good chance, because there's still another 4 races with this one. So if we do well, they're still within reach. But, you know, it's still a long way.
A fixture on the off-road scene for more than 20 years, Giel Nel is still passionate about the sport.
I think I'm driving from the very early 90s, 92, somewhere around there. But before that, I've been involved with the racing for 18 years. So my whole life has been, I've been involved with it.
Apart from preparing and racing his own car, Giel Nel looks after the Zarko campaign by Kutsia and Sandra Lapaskachny.
Yeah, look, it's my trade. So I do my own car and I race prep Kutsia's car, and it's very, very interesting, the sequential boxes and the engines and the suspensions. I do everything myself.
We move from a veteran campaigner to someone of more tender years, with young Michael Gouveia already tasting success as a teenager.
Well, we're hoping for the best, eh? Doesn't look to be much wind today, so we're planning on making a bit of dust because we've got some big cars coming racing today in the regional group, so we got to make tracks and try to do our best to keep our title in first.
We turn now to the production vehicle category, and after 4 rounds of the Northern Region Series, 2 wins and a second had taken the Mitsubishi Colt pairing of Henny Lemmert and Paul Slubbert to the top of the championship standings. Lemmert and Slubbert missed round 4 of the championship, but had still managed to build up a 31-point lead over Ian Boshoff and Mia van Wyk in a Toyota Hilux. Boshoff's brother Gene and co-driver Lothar Klein were third in another Toyota Hilux, with the 2 crews separated by 13 points. Both Boshoffs also missed the Lichtenberg 200 earlier in the season. The Northern Region's teams did not compete in the Donaldson Prologue, which determined grid positions for the race. This meant they did not get an early taste of what to expect, and their first look at the route would be once they came under starters' orders.
We don't know quite a route. I think we will do our best, keep out of the rocks, and just have fun.
Competitors in the Northern Region's Championship completed only 1 loop of a 160-kilometre route, and it was no surprise in the early stages of the race to see Tony and Michael Gouveia at the front of the field and leading Class B in the Gearbox Services bat. The Gouveias were heavily favoured for a 5th Class B win and quickly opened up a 29-second lead over Martinez Leroux and Gustav Pinard in a Sandmaster. The Toyota Hilux of Ian Boshoff and Mia van Wyk set the pace in the production vehicle category, with the pair also taking the early initiative in Class E. While enthusiasts enjoyed the action provided by national and regional competitors, Giel Nel and Johan de Klerk were quietly going about establishing a lead in Class P. Gene Boshoff and Lothar Klein were chasing after Ian Boshoff and Mia van Wyk, who had slipped to 14 seconds behind the second Toyota Hilux. There was no time for relaxing for Zarco crew Johan Steyn and Sean van den Berg, who had dropped to nearly a minute behind Tony and Michael Gouveia in the Class B battle. The Zarco was running just ahead of Henny Lemmert and Paul Slubbert, who were at the front of the Class E field in the Mitsubishi Colt and looking to consolidate their lead in the production vehicle category. It was an ideal day for a family outing, but things were a little tougher for raceco pair Gerard and Michi van der Linde, who had dropped to 15 seconds behind Class P leaders Giel Nel and Johan de Klerk. The Northern Region Series also includes a club class with Jaco du Plessis and Louis Bester running at the front of the category in a Toyota Land Cruiser. Conditions were ideal for spectators, but on the route dust was a constant problem. Jaco Visser and Naldo Pieterse found a pocket of clean air in their Mitsubishi Colt, but were 16 seconds adrift of Class D leaders Henny Lemmert and Paul Slubbert in the leading Mitsubishi. Tranquility and beauty in the sky, and on the ground a hard slog for Michael Fine and Dierwald Hutton in the 4x4 Mega World Toyota Hilux, with the crew trying to make up time on the Class E leaders. It was a perfect late winter morning, and while spectators could relax and take in the action, it was tough going for the crews, with the Spec 1 Cobra of Rickers Prinsloo and LP Combrink now a minute and 25 seconds adrift of the Class B leaders. In an interesting cameo, Prinsloo and Combrink were being chased down by the Sutherland twins Clive and Sean, who were having a good run in the Jimco tandem that has a national history behind it. A little further back, the Ford Ranger of Carl and Kalo Labuschagne was now nearly 2.5 minutes behind the Class E leaders, with the Ford being chased down by the little UTV of Sidrian de Villiers and Dwayne Voigt that was running in Class B. In an interesting situation, Francois Conradi and Andrew van der Westhuizen had entered an early spec bat in both the Absa National event and the Northern Region race. A strong showing on the Donaldson Prologue saw them finish a surprise third behind 2 regular national crews. After struggling to find pace and reliability in the bat, Francois Conradie and Andrew van der Westhuizen were hoping their earlier misfortunes would be something of the past.
Dit is ons eerste national hierdie jaar want ons gesukkel om die kar reg te kry. En vir die eerste keer is die kar nou in 'n jaar en 'n half reg, so ons hoop om goeie resultate te kry en die reis klaar te maak.
With the competition getting tougher and tougher in the Northern Region Series, Conradie and van der Westhuizen are looking forward to good results over the remainder of the year.
Daar is heelwat kompetisie en die regional, die gees onder die ouens is ook baie lekker. En daar is goeie ouens wat nou in die regional klas ry. So dit is baie lekker.
On the run back to the finish at Sun City, the father and son pair of Tony and Michael Gouveia were steaming along at the front of the field and heading for a fifth successive Class B win. It was another impressive performance by the Benoni-based pair, and they were well clear of veteran former national champion Giel Nel and Johan de Klerk, who were the only Class P runners left in the race. It was a result that kept Nel and de Klerk in the championship race. The Toyota Land Cruiser of Jaco du Plessis and Louis Bester was well clear of the rest of the Club Challenge field. The club category competitors do not score points towards the Northern Region Production Vehicle Championship, and it was the Toyota Hilux of Ian Boshoff and Mia van Wyk that was leading the field overall and in Class E. Next on the road behind the Toyota was the Zarco of Johan Steyn and Sean van den Berg, who were nearly 11 minutes behind Tony and Michael Gouveia. The Toyota Hilux of Jean Boshoff and Lothar Klein was just over 8 minutes off the Class E pace, and the retirement of Henny Lemmer and Paul Slubbert gave the Class D lead to Jaco Visser and Naldo Pieterse in another Mitsubishi Colt. Local kids know all the comfortable viewing spots, and Michael Fine and Dierwald Hatto were a comfortable third in Class E, with a 4x4 Mega World Toyota Hilux running just ahead of the UTV of Cedrian de Villiers and Dwayne Voigt that had made impressive progress through the Class B ranks. The UTV was running ahead of an early vintage Toyota Hilux in the hands of Jean-Andre Coetzee and Peter Jacobs that was fifth in Class E. With a few disinterested locals looking on, Clive and Sean Sutherland had a little moment in the Jimco tandem. No harm done to Jimco or Gatepost, with the Sutherland twins holding on to fifth overall in the special vehicle category and fourth in Class B. Back at race headquarters at Sun City, the Northern Region finishers were being shepherded into Parc Fermé by race officials. Race winners Tony and Michael Gouveia were given a little last-minute lap by second place Giel Nel and Johan de Klerk. Just for old time's sake, you understand. After a tough morning out on a testing and dusty route, the finishers were starting to drift into the Parc Fermé, and Tony and Michael Gouveia could reflect on 5 out of 5 in Class B. The Benoni pair also took a third special vehicle category win ahead of Giel Nel and Johan de Klerk and Johan Steyn and Sean van den Berg. In the production vehicle category, a 1-2 for the Boshoff brothers in Toyota Hilux entries ahead of Jaco Visser and Naldo Pieterse. Visser and Pieterse also took Class D, with Ian Boshoff and Mia van Wyk winning Class E. On the podium, it was smiles all round.
Awesome, strong car, good navigator, good driver, good car, good preparation, race winning car.
Dit was hoogtyd en dit was nodig geweest. Dankie vir ons span en al die manne wat hier betrokke is, en dan vir Johan van Staan hulle van KEC en Dion hulle van 4x4 Mega World wat dit vir ons regional ouens moontlik maak. Baie dankie.
In the Special Vehicle Championship, the Gouveias are now well clear of Giel Nel and Johan de Klerk and Johan Steyn and Sean van den Berg. Tony and Michael Gouveia have one hand on the championship, but it is a different story in the production vehicle standings, where Ian Boshoff and Mia van Wyk have closed within 6 points of Henny Lemmer and Paul Slubbert.
Ben Morgenroot has been associated with South African motor racing for decades. Dealer of the Year 4 years running from 2008 to 2011. Visit Ben Morgenroot, Ford, Mazda and Kia Randfontein. Ben Morgenroot has always been an ace on the motor circuit and brings his passion for motorsport to his dealerships. Pop in for a test drive of our new or quality approved used cars and get a great deal.
Hi, I'm Ben Morgenroot. Come and visit us at Ben Morgenroot Ford, Mazda and Kia Randfontein. Our service is as quick and reliable off the racing circuit as on. We pride ourselves on our exceptional service and deliver nationwide.
The Volkswagen Scirocco R Cup at the Nürburgring. A big entry list and even bigger name drivers. Rally legends confronted with the challenge of a current top driver. But the field mainly comprises talented up-and-coming racers, fighting remorselessly for places on the podium and points in the championship, with little or no respect for their elders and betters. A potent mixture set to explode at any time in the 7th race of the season, and there can only be one winner.
Need a bar key? Get a Photon Thunder for only $19.50 a month. Standard with power steering, radio CD player, plus a 3-year 100,000-kilometer warranty. Yours for only $19.50 per month. VAT-registered businesses get VAT back. Photon, quality first, value always.
Sport is all about personalities, and in cricket circles, they don't come any more popular than Vinniger Fani. Fani's off-road debut as celebrity co-driver in the SA Warranties Nissan Navara at the Sun City 400 added a new dimension to the event.
You know, the only worry I've got is that the guys are using acronyms when they talk to me. Acronyms like FNC, and that's that freaking no clue and all those kind of things. So they're not calling me by my name, which I'm worried about.
Yes.
It's not fair.
It's part of racing. He's a rookie for a change.
In a glittering career, Fani de Villiers reached for the stars as a cricketer, but to go off-road racing was altogether another kettle of fish.
It's new adrenaline, let's put it that way. I've bungee jumped and all the stupid stuff, but this is real stupid, I must admit, and it's electrifying, so I'm going to enjoy it.
The SA Warranties Nissan Navara races under the Regent Racing banner, with team principal Terence Marsh also a former professional cricketer. In an effort to market off-road racing to a wider audience, Regent Racing nominates for each event a celebrity co-driver to sit alongside South African champion Archie Rutherford. Before the race, Vinniger Fani was given a crash course on off-road racing navigation skills by Regent Racing co-drivers George Smalberger and Matthew Carlson. For Rutherford and de Villiers, the weekend started on a promising note. The pair picked up a top 10 finish on the Donaldson Prologue that determined start positions for the race the next day. Rutherford and de Villiers finished in 9th place on the Prologue, with the former Protea fast bowler's first foray into the world of off-road racing producing an adrenaline rush and a new respect for drivers and co-drivers who go racing on a regular basis.
It's much more adrenaline here. It's much more respect too, I must admit. You know, you look at fellow competitors and suddenly there's a feeling of serious respect towards them, knowing what they're going through and what they've done in the past. And preparing for cricket is probably a little bit easier. I must admit I was more prepared and more organized than I'm now, but obviously it's a learning curve and full trust in my driver, Georgie. Archie there. And George, the navigator that helped me. And I mean, even Archie's kids are giving me advice. These two youngsters, they've been part of the system for 10 years. They know more than I do. So it's lovely to have them with me.
After their promising display on the Donaldson Prologue, the race did not go as well for Archie Rutherford and Fani de Villiers in the SA Warranties Nissan Navara. Conditions were difficult, and soon after the start, they dropped a place to eventual Class D winners Louis Weichelt and Moret Besaidenout in the N1 4x4 Toyota Land Cruiser. The tight route and dusty conditions made life difficult for even the most experienced co-drivers, and de Villiers was at a major disadvantage on what is acknowledged as one of the toughest events on the ABSA Off-Road Championship calendar. After a testing start to the race, Rutherford and de Villiers looked to be settling into a rhythm before the racing guards decided to frown on the pair, who were forced to call it a day when the SA Warranty's Nissan Navara broke a side shaft.
Yeah, it's a pity. You know, you prepare, you try and get things right, you have a look at the team, what they do behind the scenes, the whole squad kind of that got everything together. And we went 70 k's down the line, and then I think the drive shaft went. It's amazing. The amount of pounding those vehicles take. Hell, it's frightening. It just defies, it defies logic. But what an experience.
Experience is not the sort of commodity you buy over the counter at your local hardware store. And South African Motorsport has in Ralph Pitchford one of the leading navigators to be found in the world of off-road racing and rallying.
Yes, I've been very fortunate, over the years to have navigated for a lot of very good drivers. I've had a lot of experience. I've had the privilege of racing with a lot of international drivers as well, and going testing and practicing. I've learned a lot from them. A lot of drivers, they're all very different from each other, but at the same time, they're all excellent at the job they do.
As in many sports, teamwork is a prerequisite for success in rallying and off-road racing, and the two disciplines make different demands on drivers and navigators.
No, look, it's a 50-50 situation in the car. Without a navigator, there's no way the driver is going to find a way, especially like at the Dakar Rally, for example. The local racing, it's definitely a little bit easier, because there's more aids along the way. There's route marking and so on, so the driver can find his way. But in order to go quick, you need a good driver and navigator combination.
Although they are basically all part of the same family, off-road racing, rallying and marathon events like the grueling Dakar Rally in South America all require expert skills from the navigators.
Yes, the difference between the local series and the Dakar Rally with the navigation is that the local series, we have route marking, we have a road book, and we have the routes mapped out on the GPS. So it's actually quite easy to navigate. In the Dakar Rally, you've only got a road book, and there you have to follow compass bearings and make sure you're 100% on the distances in order to find your way.
Apart from route marking and the GPS system, off-road navigators are also issued with a route guide or road book, which has a series of printed instructions. Navigators follow diagrammatic and written instructions, which also contain time and distance schedules.
The off-road road book has basically got tulips. It's little pictures with instructions. It shows you intersections, it gives you distances, and it indicates all the dangers along the route. Whereas in rallying, you have, which is similar to pace notes, every corner, every ditch, every kink in the road is called out to the driver. Basically, you don't call distances because the corners and the dangers and that all flow into each other.
Modern rallying is a frenetic business, with co-drivers constantly reeling off rapid instructions. With route markings to follow, roadbooks and GPS aids, off-road navigators are well equipped to follow suit.
Yes, you can. With the map on the GPS, you can call out the instructions from the GPS. They give you a lot of information on the GPS. You can check the distance there. You can see the angle of the corners and all that. So it is quite easy to follow the GPS and find your way.
Nothing stands still in motor racing, and the Toyota Imperial team is deep into early preparations for a return to the Dakar Rally in South America over the next 3 years. Part of these preparations recently took the team to Namibia.
Well, we've had a good opportunity to start earlier in this year in preparation for 2013, which is great news. So we've come here really to compare some of the information we had from last year here, some of the knowledge we gained in the Dakar, and the principal reason we're here is to decide on the build of the new car. That's what this 5 days is all about.
Research and development is an ongoing process in any branch of motorsport, and under team principal Glenn Hall, the Toyota Imperial team will leave nothing to chance.
The vehicle now compared to the end of the Dakar is different for sure. We've made some improvements and we've checked those out here, and we've certainly moved forward in some of those areas. So yeah, we're better off now than we were at the end of the Dakar. That's certainly faster in terms of seconds per kilometre on gravel. In the dunes, we are also better off with some things that we've tested here. But we must remember, in the gravel, we were pretty close last year to the winning vehicles. So the dunes are a big issue for us, and we made quite a big step there. So that's good.
A podium finish for Janelle de Villiers and German co-driver Dirk von Zitzewitz, and a top 10 place for Dakar Rally rookies Duncan Foss and Rob Howie. It's a tough act to follow. Former winner de Villiers also has an impressive record on the world's toughest race.
Well, I mean, obviously we're trying to improve the package we have. We had a very good race last year, and, you know, we had a very good result for Toyota, you know, and obviously we'd like to improve on that, you know, so we're here in the NAMUP now trying to improve the package we have, like I said, you know, trying various different things on the engine side, on the suspension, you know, and all over, you know. If you can gain 0.3 of a second a kilometre, you know, in a race like the Dakar, over 5,000 kilometres of special stages, that's a couple of minutes at the end, you know, 10, 15 minutes, maybe even more, half an hour, you know, so it's very important to keep on developing, to try and keep and make the car faster, because the competition is doing the same, so we've got to do the best we can, and hopefully we can, you know, be in a position where we can get a better result next year.
A major plus factor for the Toyota Imperial team is having the opportunity to carry out extensive testing in what is virtually their own backyard. The NAMUP desert and road conditions in Namibia are tailor-made to provide the team with all the information they need, with sand dunes offering the drivers an ideal practice ground.
Absolutely, you know, we're very lucky. It's a perfect place for us to come and test. It's you know, it's got dunes, it's got sand, it's got some rough sections. You know, everything that we need. You know, to test the car to go to the desert. You know, previously when I was, we always used to go and test in places like Morocco. So you know, I'm very happy, like I said, that we have a place like this. So, you know, now that the team is based in Johannesburg, you know, it's a lot closer. It makes life a lot easier for us to come to a place which is closer to us. It's perfect in all the things we need, so it's great that we can come here.
The Dakar Rally is an event with a huge worldwide footprint, and the Toyota Imperial team will again proudly fly the South African flag in 2013. The next event on the ABSA Off-Road Championship calendar is the 4x4 Mega World 400 at Carnival City on August the 31st and September the 1st. See you there.